When we're looking at the experiences that we have in the early years of school or in the preschool setting, there's a lot of playing with language. And what we tend to do in these years of schooling or preschooling is children learn a lot of math through song. So if you think about some of those songs, the Grand Old Duke of York, for example, the Grand Old Duke marched them up to the top of the hill. So you look at that, there's up and top. He marched them down to the bottom. And again, look at those words, up, top, down, bottom. They're all very big ideas in mathematics. So playing with song is very important. So the Grand Old Duke of York is a great song for teaching children about the geometry strand of the curriculum. Similarly, there's those little songs that children sing, 2, 4, 6, 8. Mary at the cottage gate, eating cherries off a plate, 2, 4, 6, 8. So again, there's a lot of counting in that. The children are counting on in twos. So they learn to hear the patterns, the mathematical patterns, auditorily. So they're hearing it, they're making patterns, they're making connections. So we do a lot of experiences in the early years through song. Another way that we teach mathematical ideas is through stories. And often what we hear is the story, and we know this happens in many, many instances when we're reading stories to children. So if you think about the stories such as Goldilocks and the Three Bears. So what we hear in those stories is the number 3 gets repeated a lot. There's 3 bears. They're walking home and there's the mama bear, the papa bear and the baby bear. So kids are learning there's 1, 2, 3. They hear the story, Goldilocks and the 3 bears, or the 3 little pigs. All of those things are reinforcing mathematical ideas in ways that the children engage with the story, but hear the numbers as well. Similarly, if you look at the story Goldilocks and the 3 bears, there's lots of things in there that are doing comparisons. That porridge is too hot. That porridge is too cold. The mama bear and we're comparing big and small and little and big, and we're using those words to compare a lot. And if you think about the story of Goldilocks and the bears, what we hear is the things about the beds. The beds are too big, too small, and just right. So they're learning about length. The temperature, the porridge is too hot, the porridge is too cold. So they're learning a lot of mathematical ideas that we're going to use later on. More contemporarily, you'll find that there's a lot of great stories around that reinforce other concepts of mathematics. And a great book for that is the story with Counting on Frank. This is a story about a young boy who's just obsessed with counting and measuring and mathematical ideas. So when you look at that book, he imagines he doesn't like his peas, and how many peas would it take to fill up the room if he doesn't eat his peas for a year? Or if he fills up the bath and the bath overflows, and what happens to all that water when the door opens? So we're learning about volume. But that's a really great book. It engages the children in a story, but through that story, they're learning a lot of mathematical ideas. The other thing that we have to do in the early childhood setting is get the children to learn a lot of mathematical ideas through informal play. Now, we'll come across these a lot in this course. So when you're working with the children, what we tend not to do is just let the kids play and as if they're going to discover things for themselves. We'd want the kids to discover things, but we have the discovery through what we call guided play or structured play. So while the child's playing in the water, for example, and pouring the water in and out of cups and containers, the language of the teacher enables this child to make connections between what he's or she's doing. So we might get the child while he's pouring or she's pouring water, and we might say, well, how many cups do you think are going to fill up that jug? Or what do you think is bigger or smaller? So we use these opportune moments for reinforcing many of the ideas in mathematics. So imagine you're out in the play area and somebody is having water play while the child's just pouring the water freely. You might say, how many cups of water are in the jug? And then with the child, as the child pours the water, count how many cups. Another good skill is getting them to estimate or to guess. How many cups do you think are in there? Now let's see how many there are. Another good area in the early childhood setting is the block corner. And we know, for example, that the children will be talking about which blocks are the same, what shapes are going to fit here better. And in the block corner, there's many different shapes and many different sizes. So again, as the children are playing, we use the block corner to talk about shapes and size, but also location. So that block goes on top of that block goes next to. That one goes around the corner. So again, lots of really rich language that you can use in the block corner. The other thing that we might do with children in the early years is talk about how lucky, or use the chance and data strand of the curriculum, and how lucky things might be, or what might happen today, or will it be sunny today, or do you think that this might happen, or it will happen. And again, we're using the informal language of chance to enable those mathematical concepts to develop, but also to explore the language as well as the concepts. But it's being done in a very informal way, but also making sure that we are bringing out the language of mathematics.